Welcome to the October 21st, 2019 Frankfort Village Board meeting. We call this meeting to order and we ask our clerk, Jean Savaria, to take the roll, please.
Mayor Holland.
Here.
Trustee Borelli.
Here.
Trustee Clavio.
Here.
Trustee Farina.
Here.
Trustee Ogle.
Here.
Trustee Trevarthen.
Here.
Trustee Petro is absent. Attorney Lamore. Chief Barica. Admin Pisha.
Here.
Admin Cook.
Here.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The next item on our agenda this evening is what we call the unanimous consent agenda. All items on the unanimous consent agenda are considered routine in nature and will be voted on after a single motion. If any of the trustees want to discuss any of the items in more detail, we'll just remove that item from the consent agenda. So I first ask, do any trustees want to remove any items from the consent agenda? Not hearing any, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Well, I'll make it, Mayor.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Trustee Trevarthen and a second by Trustee Ogle to approve the consent agenda. Now, we certainly want our audience in the boardroom tonight and our audience at home on the television and on the internet to know something about the items that we're voting on, so we'll go over each of them just briefly. First item is the approval of the minutes from our last meeting on October 7th. Second item is the approval of the bills, and we'll go to the chair of our Finance Committee, Trustee Borelli, for a report on those.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The bills tonight total $113,079.33. It's an extraordinarily light bill list tonight, about 5% of our last meeting. So the biggest bill on there is to Robinson for engineering for the 2019 street maintenance program, and that's $19,789.50. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Adam. And then we have a number of items that were discussed at our last Land Use and Policy Committee, and we'll go to its chair, Trustee Ogle, for a report on those.
Thank you, Mayor Holland. We do have a couple items on here. The first item on here is the Chicago SMSA Limited Partnership Lease Agreement, which the proposed facility space lease agreement permits Verizon Wireless to co-locate telecommunications equipment at the Granary Tower site, which is at 20 Elwood Street. Verizon proposes to remove the existing unused wall-mounted antennas and install new wall-mounted antennas. The second item on here, the motion will be to accept the recommendation of the Land Use and Policy Committee and adopt the resolution authorizing the execution of a facility space lease agreement between the Village of Frankfort and Chicago SMSA Limited Partnership, doing business as Verizon Wireless, to co-locate telecommunications equipment at the Granary Tower located at 20 Elwood Street. The second item on here is New Singular Wireless lease agreement. And New Singular currently leases space atop the village's Prestwick Water Tower. And the lease will extend the terms of the lease, adjust the rent schedule, and update other provisions of the original lease pertaining to notices and terminations. And the motion will be to accept the recommendation of the Land Use and Policy Committee and adopt a resolution authorizing the execution of a third amendment to the Communications Facility Lease Agreement between the Village of Frankfort and New Singular Wireless PCS LLC for the Prestwick Water Tower located at 601 Prestwick Drive. Our third item on here is the MCI Metro Access Transmission Services Corp. Right-of-Way Agreement Resolution. And the proposed agreement sets standards by which MCI Metro is permitted to install its fiber optic communication network within public right-of-ways of the village. Our motion will be to accept the recommendation of the Land Use and Policy Committee and adopt a resolution authorizing the execution of a right-of-way use agreement between the Village of Frankfort and MCI Metro Transmission Services Corp., DBA, Verizon Access Transmission Services, for the installation of a public of a fiber optic communications network within the public right-of-way of the village. Our fourth item on here was the Village of Frankfort meeting and holiday schedule for 2020, the approval. And we do go through this, and there are our village board meetings generally are first and third Mondays, and occasionally that'll fall on a holiday. And even though we are allowed to have meetings on holidays, when they're regularly scheduled, we do move them for the convenience of our residents to make sure that they can attend. And we also check to make sure there's some other conflicting dates, so we'll move them around. But we went through the 2020 calendar, and that it will be presented here. The motion would be to accept the recommendation of the Land Use and Policy Committee and approve the 2020 Village of Frankfort meeting and holiday calendar as presented. And Mayor, I think that's all we have tonight from Land Use and Policy.
Thank you, Keith. And then we have just one item from our Plan Commission, and we'll go to the Plan Commission liaison, Trustee Clavio, for a report on that issue.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Like you said, we have one item at 124 South Maple Street. The homeowners, Robert and Cindy Maleka, along with their contractor, are looking for side and front yard setbacks to construct front porch additions and some covering over their existing doorways at that point. The applicant's requesting the granting of a front yard setback variance from 30 feet to 25.94 and a side yard variance from 30 feet to 15.55. The plan was submitted to the Old Town Homeowners Association, and they did agree with it, as well as the Plan Commission at their October 10th, 2019 public hearing. They voted a unanimous 4-0 recommendation for the village board to approve the variance. So before us tonight, Mr. Mayor, is to accept the Plan Commission recommendation, waive the first and second readings, and pass an ordinance granting 2 zoning variances to the property located at 124 South Maple Street, a front yard setback variance from 30 feet to 25.94 feet to permit the construction of a covered front porch on the eastern facade of the existing home, and a corner side yard setback variance from 30 feet to 15.55 feet to permit the construction of a cantilevered covered side entryway on the southern facade of the existing home in accordance with the reviewed plans in public testimony. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, John. And those are all of the items on the consent agenda this evening. So before we vote on those items, is there anyone who wanted to speak to the village board about any of these particular items before we vote?
Can I ask a question?
Yes, Dick.
Is there any houses in waiting now to be tore down, replaced?
Not to my
No,
knowledge.
not that I know of.
No.
Okay.
The one on Ash Street, across the street from St. Peter's
St.
Church.
Peter's.
Oh, that one, okay.
That
Yeah,
was
okay, that's-
approved for development in
Yeah.
that location. That's the
Yeah.
only one I know about.
Okay, thank you. I thought maybe there was another one. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Adam?
The Plan Commission report, I want to thank the homeowners, Bob and Kathy Mleka. They've done a fantastic job with that house, redeveloping it. I live down the street from them. They basically completely gutted it and transformed it into this gorgeous house, preserving the character of downtown, and it's won a beautification award. It could win it every year. It's just fantastic, and it's a good news story. And anyone that hasn't seen that house, it's really fantastic. And so thank you for your continued investment in downtown.
Excellent comments, Adam. Beautiful home and beautifully done. Any other questions or comments? Then we'll go to Gene Savario for the vote.
Trevarthen.
Yes.
Trustee Borelli.
Yes.
Trustee Clavio.
Yes.
Trustee Farina.
Yes.
Trustee Ogle.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next item on our agenda this evening is called the Mayor's Report. The first item on the Mayor's Report is the 2019 Leaf Collection Program. Well, we need to get that underway, don't we? It seems like they all fell today. But that starts today on October 21st and goes through November 25th. You can still dispose of yard waste through New Way. You have to have one of those green stickers, either on a bag or you can put branches into a bundle, and New Way will take those, but you have to put one of those green stickers on the branches. Safety Trunk or Treat Halloween event comes up this Saturday, October 26th from 10 o'clock. It starts at 10 o'clock, typically goes till noon. This has turned into a major event for children in Frankfort. It's a big operation. There's the EF Bucko costume parade that kicks off the event, and that line of costumed children goes all the way around a whole city block in our town. So that's kind of fun to watch. And then local businesses and others pass out candy from the trunks of their decorated cars that are parked in the Brighter Green parking lot. So it's turned out to be a safe and sane, nice Halloween event, and hopefully the weather's good, but there'll be a big crowd there anyway. The Historic Business Organization has their Ghosts Around the Green event that starts at 10:30 and goes to 1 o'clock. So they're taking part in this activity too, and the trick-or-treat hours in Frankfort will be 4 o'clock to 7 o'clock on Thursday the 31st. Country Market ends on October 27th. It's been a fun season, I think a very prosperous season for our country market vendors, and certainly a fun event for people in our own community, a real gathering place. So this will be the final Sunday of this season, 9 o'clock to 1 o'clock in downtown Frankfort. And Save the Date Veterans Day concert is scheduled for November 7th. This takes place each year at Hickory Creek Middle School. The band plays a number of musical selections. The village participates by being a narrator of what's going on and what some of the patriotic songs mean. And it's really a very nice event indeed. And it fills up. So if you want to come, get there a little bit before, I think it's at 6 o'clock this year. Yes, 6 o'clock at Hickory Creek Middle School. Very nice event indeed. And this evening, I do have one additional item that I wanted to comment on to the people of Frankfort. Some residents have asked for information about the Village of Madison's proposal for a casino at the north and east corner of Harlem and Route 30. The Village of Frankfort has established an email system and has placed some information on our website to help keep residents informed about the issue. Residents can sign up to receive these emails at villageoffrankfort.com. Now, it was your state legislators who created the law that gives Madison the right to apply for a casino in this location. According to the law, the applications must be filed with the 5-member Illinois Gaming Board by October 28th. If there are competing applications, the Gaming Board will decide which location gets the one license that will be allowed for the Chicago Southland region. The Gaming Board has 1 year to decide the issue. 6 communities have either scheduled or held public hearings about casinos in their village. It appears that there will be 6 applications that will compete with each other for the one casino. The apparent applicants are from Calumet City, Country Club Hills, Crestwood, Linwood, Homewood and East Hazel Crest together, and Madison. Again, only one license will be granted, and the Gaming Board has 1 year to decide which applicant receives the single Southland Casino license. So I hope that helps answer some of the questions about that issue. And that concludes the mayor's report, and we'll go to our police chief.
I had a quick question.
Oh, Gene?
So they have a
Year to make that decision, but they don't need to actually take that full year, right? Or,
That's correct.
okay.
They do not need to take the whole year, so they don't.
I had a question too.
Margaret?
The gaming board meets November 7th. Will the village submit any testimony that day?
The village would not be prepared to submit testimony by November 7th. The trustees have not met on this issue, so that would need to take place first.
So we'll have a committee meeting and to discuss it among each other. Excellent,
We will likely discuss the issue.
excellent. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay. We'll go to our police chief, John Barica, for the police department report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you mentioned, we are looking forward to our trunk or treat this weekend from 10 to noon on Saturday. We always have a good turnout, and that will be rain or shine. Currently, the weather is looking pretty good. Also, as a reminder to the community, obviously Halloween is next week also, so please pay some special attention when driving around the neighborhoods. There'll be a lot more kids out in pedestrian traffic between 4 and 7 for the trick-or-treat hours. Always a good idea for those kids to go in groups and make sure that parents put them in something visible clothing, as we were going to have, it's getting dark a little bit earlier now, to make sure people can see them. We'll also be sending some tips out on our Nixle to remind people of some safety tips for that night. We're still continuing to take in products for the domestic violence shelters for people who want to donate. They're looking for bowls, plates, laundry detergent, paper towels, and other cleaning products. So if you have anything, we're doing that till the end of the month, so feel free to drop them off, and we will get them delivered to some of the domestic shelters. And as always, make sure you lock your cars, don't leave your keys in them, and of course, call the police if you see or hear anything. Obviously, we've seen some things in the news with the suspect being armed, and we want to make sure that the police come and handle that. So if you see, hear anything at night, especially give us a call and let us get out there and handle that situation for you. And that's all I have tonight.
Thank you, John. And then to our village administrator, Rob Pisha, for the village administrator's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to dovetail on what you're talking about with the leaf collection as we did switch over. I know we were kind of concerned that the leaves hadn't started to turn or hadn't fallen off the trees, but the weather in the last 24 hours seems to be helping that cause. If people have already trimmed branches and they have them out, if they need them picked up, please call the village hall, ask for Heather Smith, and she can schedule somebody to come in to pick up the branches. But we have switched over to leaf collection. Also want to remind residents that as more leaves fall, that please refrain from putting the leaves actually in the street, in the gutters, because it does cause potential flooding issues when we have heavy rains during that time, and it can end up covering up the sewer vents. So we just ask you to keep it on the parkway. We do vacuum it right off the parkway, and it will be helpful for everyone. Also, just as an update, progressing on our wastewater treatment plant project, and the demolition at the north and west plants is progressing well, and it's kind of an interesting thing for people that having that plant been there for 40-some years to see now basically most of the structures are gone. So it's really something, and I think it'll be a great benefit to the people in that area once those plants are basically gone. So, and that's the end of my report.
Thank you, Rob. And now for the village attorney's report, we go to our village attorney, Hannah Lamore.
No report tonight, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah. And that brings us to the part of our meeting we call Other Business, and this evening we'll start with our clerk, Jean Zavaria.
I just wanted to recognize the Link Way Marching Band. They were down in Normal this weekend and fought hard and brought back the state championship for the marching band. So congratulations to them.
For sure. Thank you, Jean. Trustee Clavio.
Mr. Mayor, I have nothing this evening, thank you.
Thank you, John. Trustee Trevarthen.
I'm happy to be here. That's all I have, sir.
Thank you, Dick. And Trustee Farina.
Thank you, Mayor Hallen. Just a reminder that tomorrow night is Tiger University. They're going to focus on high esteem coaching. That is at 6 p.m. in the library at Hickory Creek. They're also going to have one during the day at 12:30 at the district office of 157C in Grand Prairie. That's it, Mayor Hallen.
Thank you, Margaret. And Trustee Ogle.
Mayor, I have a very short list of things tonight to talk about for once, right? We we should get this on our calendar so it can either be discussed at committee or going forward. There's a G32 meeting of the 911 system that'll be scheduled for Wednesday, November 21st, which we'll be part of, but there are some issues I think that we need to discuss, whether at committee or whatever, so that going forward we either have a resolution or a consensus from the board of,
Good.
and they'll also
We can
present the
do
budget
that,
and everything
Rob.
else that night too.
Thank
so.
you.
And Mayor, that's all I have tonight.
Oh, well, thank you, Keith. Trustee Borelli.
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to say happy birthday to my lovely wife, Bridget, and I love you, and I'll see you in a few minutes. That's all I have.
Perfect, Adam. And that brings us to the part of our meeting we call public comments. Is there anyone who wanted to make a comment to the village board tonight? Please come forward.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, trustees. My name is Bob Denton. I live in Prestwick, and I was rather taken aback with this casino thing. And I would like to know, thank you for giving the information you did, but is the village board going to take a proactive stance against the casino? Because they're plopping it down right in residential. And I don't think that's a good thing. They're putting it quite close to a school. And are you going to take a proactive stand in letting people how they can address the gaming board about it? You know, the different homeowners associations and what have you.
Good comment, Bob. We are going to meet on this issue and decide what's the appropriate action. The state law makes it very clear that they have a right to apply.
I understand
The question
that.
is going to be, how does the gaming board make their decision? And
If
that's
I'm-
what we need to learn more.
Yeah, I have no problem with Matson having a casino. They could put it over at Lincoln Mall, I mean, which would fit in very nicely there because there's mostly commercial industrial around it instead of housing right up to it on three sides. You know, that was the thing. And I appreciate you saying you want to learn more about it and how they operate, because the state operates in mysterious ways like a lot of governments do. But disseminating that, hopefully, and the position that you're taking, hopefully it's not for it, but, and telling people what they can do to support, to show
Understand.
support to the village and the community. Because I don't see it being a very positive thing for our community. It'd be great for Matson because of the tax dollars if they get it. But that was my only comment, is to make sure that that gets out and people are aware of the ramifications of a casino there in a 200-room hotel.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else? Hearing nothing else, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? This meeting is adjourned.